Hi, I'm going to show you how to make this very pretty princess cake. Now in this video you're going to learn a lot of different techniques, from making the frills, the crimping on the bottom, which can be crimped on a cake as well, also the butterflies, and how to pipe a snail's trail just to finish the design off. Now once you've learned all these different skills, you could change it to suit any cake. So it could be a christening or a birthday or possibly a wedding cake. I didn't mention as well, we're also going to be doing this lettering, so lots of techniques there. So I'm going to put this over here and we're going to start by covering our cake. So I've got a cake here that's all been buttercreamed, and underneath it's on a very small thin card so that I can lift it onto my board. So I've got some pale blue sugar paste here. So we're going to start by giving it a good knead. You want to make sure it's nice and warm. A little icing sugar to stop it sticking. Now to make sure your sugar paste is rolled out large enough, what you can do is hold your rolling pin over the top of the cake, and you can see roughly how far you need to roll that. So see where my hand is. Then we can do a quick measure. I'm just going to do it slightly more. And then wrap it over your rolling pin. And roll it over the top. So just rub it over the top first and slightly on the edges. And then we want to start tucking it in on the sides. Now a quick way, you can either cut round the edge with a palette knife, or I'm going to use a smoother just to press down and get rid of the excess. And then we're just neaten it with a palette knife. And finish it off with a smoother. If you don't have a smoother, just use your hands. So now you've covered the cake, you want to do exactly the same thing with the board. So to stick the icing onto the board, just use some cooled boiled water all over the board, roll it out, place it on top, and with a palette knife just clean off the edges. So now we're ready to crimp the edge of our board. So I've got a crimper, and normally you would crimp in front of you. It's much easier to do it in front of you, but so that you can see how to use it, I'm going to try and do this on the side. So I've got a cornflour pouch here because it can get sticky, so just dab it into the cornflour, have it on a slight angle, press it in and give a squeeze. Oh, not as hard as that. So let's take that out. So that could have been that I pressed too hard, or it could have just been that the icing is very sticky. So I'm going to show you another one. So now all my crimping is finished, all tidy around the edge of my board. So now we need to prepare the cake for our frills. You want to get even frills all the way round your cake. So I've started by placing this ribbon around my cake first. Now, really clever, handy hint to know, we've made the template from kitchen roll. You could use greaseproof paper if you've got a long enough strip. What we've done, we've folded it into 5 equal segments. We've also cut it to the depth of our cake. And then to get the scallop even, fold it in half and then mark about 1/3 down and then just cut that scallop shape away. And then you've got a lovely template. So if you place this around your cake, make sure it's all sitting on the board. Now I'm going to use a cocktail stick and gently score all the way round. Now I'm going to show you how to make the butterflies. I'm using a butterfly plunger cutter, so it's got the lovely imprint inside, and the lettering for the cake I'm using the FMM Chunky Funky set. So I've got modelling paste here. If you wanted to make the butterflies out of sugar paste, you could. You would need to let them dry overnight really, because they would be quite fragile and they wouldn't hold their shape. I'm using modelling paste, so this will dry in about an hour. So I'm going to press this down on the base, give it a really good wiggle, and then press down and then push it out. I've also put some corn flour on the surface as well so that it doesn't stick. Now I've got a corrugated cake box here, not corrugated, concertinaed cake box here, and this is ideal to leave your butterflies to dry in. So let's cut another one out. For our cake design we need 10 butterflies all together, so it might be handy to make 12 so you've got a couple spare. Now for the FMM cutters you do really need a modelling paste, so I've rolled this a lot thinner, probably 1 to 2 millimetres. So we're going to cut some lettering out. It's nice to do it in a strip, it's much easier. So press this down, give that a wiggle, and with a toothpick just take the extra shapes out. Now give a firm tap and it should pop out. So for these to dry, if you've got a foam pad or just some kitchen roll to put them onto. Yep. If they don't ping out, it may be that your paste is rolled too thick. So roll it a bit thinner and you should be absolutely fine. To to make our frills, I'm using half modelling paste and half sugar paste kneaded together, and then I've got 3 different colours of blues. I've already made a start with the frills, so you can see where we've marked it out. I'm just placing them in the middle. So we're now going to make the frills for this part here. So we're going to start off with the dark colour first. Now I'm using a Garrett frill cutter. If you don't have one of these, you can use these cookie cutters or scone cutters. So you could use the serrated edge, cut that out first and cut the middle with a smaller one. So it's quite important to put some corn flour on your board. You don't want it to stick. We're going to roll this quite thin. I'm guessing around 2 mil, 1 mil roughly. So make sure you've got enough corn flour. Cut your shape out. There we go. Now for the first one, we are going to cut away around 1/3. So we're going to take that bit out. Now to do the frill, you can use a cocktail stick or you could use the end of a paintbrush. So just pop some corn flour on the top and give gentle rolls. If it sticks, add some more corn flour. Now, so that you don't have the lines from the toothpick, turn it over and with some edible glue, what you could do, I've already done 4 of these, so I roughly know where to put it. What you could do is just hold it up against the cake so you get an idea of where you want the glue to go. Now to make this really neat, you need to just fold in slightly on the edge. And then tuck that end part in as well. Now you can use a paintbrush just to tease the edges. I tend to do every other one. So now for the lighter colour. You need to stick these straight on. Modelling paste dries very quickly, so if you didn't put it straight on the cake, you would find that it would start to crack. So make sure you've got some corn flour underneath. Pop it straight back into a pot or a bag so that it doesn't dry out. Now for this one, we're going to cut away half. And with our cocktail stick, we're going to do exactly the same as we did with the larger one. And then turn it over. If you want to hold it up so you can see roughly where to put the glue. And tuck the end under. And tuck the end under. This just finishes it off neatly. And then with your brush, just lift them up a little bit. Yeah. Now with the lightest colour to finish. Oh. Cornflour underneath. So for this one, I'm going to start with cutting half away and then cut it in half. This is a tiny one. Turn it over. And this one's going on the top. So exactly the same. Fold it under very slightly. And the same on the other side. Lower that down a little bit in the middle. There we go. Now once these are on, you can they're starting to dry, so if you want to just use the brush just to pick them all up slightly, just helps them to hold their shape as they dry. So now we're ready to do the larger frill on the top, so we're going back to the light colour again. I'm going to cut 2 out, but you ideally would probably want to do 1 at a time because it does dry very quickly. So unless you're quite speedy, it would probably all crack. So if we cut open our shape and then measure, that's just slightly too long, so I'm going to cut a tiny piece off, and then the same with this one. So now we're ready to stick them both on. Like I say, I would just do one at a time normally, but obviously I've got quite quick at frilling them. So you want to put the glue just slightly higher than the line. And when you put it on, again, we need to tuck underneath. And we want to be aware that we don't want to see the end of the one before. And then the same with this side. I've just tucked that over. And you can use your paintbrush. Now you want that one at the end to really stick up a little bit, because this is how we're going to join them both together. So some more glue. Can't see, that's it. So we'll start with the joining one. So tuck this one under to begin with. And then tuck that one under at the end. So if you can see here, you're going to have a butterfly where it joins. But if you can see, you want them to be together. So it gives the feeling that it's a continuous frill. So now you need to carry this on all around until you've finished the whole cake. Now we're going to pipe a snail's trail at the edge of the garret frill. This just leaves a really neat finish. You don't need to do that if you didn't want to make any royal icing, but it's another technique that you can learn. So I've got just a small rounded tube on the end of my nozzle and some pale blue royal icing. So if you start by piping a dot and then pulling it down, pipe a dot, pull it down, and carry this on. Now we need to put some sparkle onto our lettering and our butterflies. So I'm using a snowflake luster dust. So I've popped it onto some kitchen roll and I've got them all ready, and just a nice fluffy dusting brush, and just very gently dust over the top. I think what's nice as well is you can add some sparkle as well to the frills. So just very delicately, you don't want to break them. I'm finishing off the design of my cake by adding the butterflies at the top point and also one in the middle. And I've started to stick the lettering on as well. So I've just got some edible glue for the lettering. It's nice to finish with some candles. At this point you would put your princess in the middle of your cake. So let's bring our original cake back in, that's got our lovely princess on the top. So now you've learnt all these techniques, which are really handy. You don't have to use all of them on this cake. And also you could just take some of these designs and make it how you want to make it. Thank you for watching.